Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we're going to talk about Fabulous Bill with his backpack of delights and the potential for Chaos Primaris Space Marines, or Primaris Chaos Space Marines. Now, this is completely unashamedly kind of inspired, and that's a very grand word for what this actually is, by Chapter Master Valrak's recent video talking about the fact that, obviously, Fabulous Bill is incredibly interested in Primaris Space Marines. They're massive, they're really strong, they're incredibly efficient, they're just better than normal Marines. We've established this at this point. And of course, when Fabulous Bill sees something like this, he's going to be like, now, I want some of that, and I want it right now. Give me that. I demand it. Which is fair enough, because, well, they're better than the stuff that he's made. So, he'd want a piece of that. We're not going to talk about whether it's likely to happen or not. Valrak's got that covered. We're not going to talk about whether it's likely that Bill will produce them himself. By the way, Fabius Bile. I need to stop just saying Fabulous Bill, because if you're not like familiar with the stupid meme, then it just sounds like I'm getting his name wrong. Fabius Bile. So we're not going to talk about that stuff because Valrak's got it covered, and there's a lot of conversation regarding that at the moment anyway. And it's a case of, do we think that Primaris Chaos Space Marines are good or bad? Should they be a thing? Should they not be a thing? I've previously made a video saying that Chaos needs Primaris Marines. Now, having made that video, and having seen some of the comments that came about because of it, I've actually kind of changed my mind. I'm still ill, by the way, which is why I sound dreadful, so I apologise if there's a million cuts in this video. It's just to save you from coughing. My coughing, not your coughing. That would be silly. And so we're not going to talk about that right now, because I've actually changed my mind. I think that perhaps Chaos could do something that isn't Primaris Space Marines. I mean, if you build it up so that it's a case of the Imperium needs these because Chaos is just a never-ending tide, they need it just to keep the balance, then actually giving Chaos Primaris as well will make them maybe not too strong, but it might do something to mess the balance a bit more. I think I'd built it up to be too much in the Imperium's favour, when in reality, just the fact that there's a brand new rift halfway across the galaxy, cutting the Imperium in half, that by itself is a fairly good indicator that things are still not great for the Imperium, Primaris Space Marines or not. No, instead, what I want to talk about is basically the potential here for Games Workshop to do something genuinely interesting, and to actually evolve one of their armies past what it is currently, in fact past what it's ever been. Now, as Chaos Space Marines have aged as an army, not in the lore, just as an army in the game, they have slowly started to divert away from their loyalist counterparts. They've always had differences, but with the release of successive codexes, the differences have become more pronounced, they've become more severe. I mean, to be honest, back when I had my Iron Warriors army, it was very much a case of you had Rhinos, you had Predators, you had Terminators, you did have Chosen, and you did have Demon Princes, you had Obliterators, but by and large, the actual armies were very, very similar. There wasn't a huge amount to do to sort of distinguish them, except for one kit had some fancy sort of edge work on it, on like the shoulder pads and stuff, and more spikes, and the others didn't have that. There wasn't a massive amount of difference. In fact, when the Defiler came out, I remember that being a massive deal for me as a Iron Warriors player, like when an actual Defiler kit was produced, because I remember it being in the codex, but there being no kit for it, and it was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then, lo and behold, the Defiler was released, and yeah, it looks dated now, but at the time, it was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Look at this, this is a proper, look, it's so different. It's so different to anything Space Marines get. It's genuinely exciting, to the extent that I had two, because my Iron Warriors army was just unmitigated bullshit. 2 Defilers, a Basilisk, and I believe a Land Raider as well. It was silly. It was not, it was not clever at all. But as time's gone on, that has changed even more. Like when I started to get back into the hobby in the tail end of, so I guess probably closer to the middle of 7th, and then really ramped up as 8th came about, I was sort of looking at the Chaos stuff in genuine wonder. I was like, oh my god, look at all this stuff. Look at all this new stuff. They've got the Mauler Fiend and the Forge Fiend, the Hell Brute. There's the Flying Chicken, the name of which I always forget somehow. I always want to say Raptor, but it's not. I don't know why I can never remember the name of the flyer. But yeah, the giant, the Flying Chicken. I was like, this is great. We didn't have any of this. Back when I played, we didn't have any of this. There's like cultists and stuff. Oh, this is amazing. Chaos Space Marines have changed significantly over the years. The army has diverted further and further away, with the release of things like the Thousand Suns and the Death Guard having their own codexes. Again, it's starting to divert even further. You're getting much more of a kind of distinguished nature for the Chaos forces as opposed to the Loyalist forces. It's now properly at the point where you can just look and go, oh, yep, that is definitely a Nurgle Death Guard army. That is 100% what that is. Even if you paint in different colour schemes, which, frankly, some of the non-standard Death Guard colour schemes look really good. I saw someone who'd done a really nice kind of, like a deep red armour colour for them. Look, quality. But even then, it was a case if you saw it and immediately it was like, well, I know what that is. With the potential for Fabius Bile to create Primaris Chaos Space Marines, which is what he will want to do, if he can get his hands on some and do a bit of dissection, and a bit of examination, and a bit of genetic faffing around, he could then splice it with other stuff. I mean, he's got a form for that. He's done various things to improve his warriors, improve being a somewhat subjective term. This could be a chance for Chaos to further split, to further actually become even more of their own unique force. Now, I think the problem with Chaos and the Imperium being too similar is not really that applicable anymore. I think there's been so much done to try and make Chaos Space Marines their own force, give them their own feel, their own look, their own character. I don't think it's that much of an issue. I don't think it's a case of you can really sit there and, at a glance you might think, oh, that's a Loyalist army. Oh, no, wait, no, that is Chaos. I don't think that can really happen so much anymore. But Games Workshop has the chance to do something with this potential storyline, something that, I'll be honest, I'd say I'm 99% sure will happen. I know Death Guard aren't true scale. I know that. They've had their new models and they're not the same size as Primaris. They are bulky as hell, though. They do seem to be quite a bit bigger, height-wise, especially than the normal Chaos Space Marines, just as Primaris are bigger height-wise than normal Space Marines. Things like the Thousand Suns as well, I mean, their models are significantly taller than your bog-standard Space Marine Chaos Space Marine models. So, if Fabulous Bill goes away, he manages to capture a couple of Primaris Marines. He does his cutting work, he has a bit of an examination of them, and he says, yeah, I can work with this, I can do something with this. What I would want to see would not just be Primaris with spikes on them, because that would be boring, that would be really boring. That would be ignoring the potential to do something really interesting, really creative, something properly chaos with it. Imagine Fabulous Bill gets his Primaris Marines. He gets them, he gets to dissect them, he gets to mess with them, do a bit of cutting, a bit of examination, and he says, yeah, I could do something with this. He doesn't just do that, but he also takes that material from the Primaris and straight up mixes it with things like Demon Blood and God knows what else, elements of Nurgle's Rot, stuff like that crazy pink mist that Slaanesh loves to pump out all over the battlefield. You could end up with not just Chaos Primaris Marines, which would be kind of dull and kind of predictable and kind of easy and just not that entertaining in terms of both story and in terms of looks, but you could end up with something that is still Primaris based, but truly, like, unmistakably perverted, something that's unmistakably chaos, something that doesn't just look like a Primaris Marine went, yeah, I like spikes and the Dark Gods now, but instead was transformed from a normal Marine into like a true abomination. I mean, what I'm kind of thinking is, wouldn't it be amazing if And, you know, there could be choices for this. I'm not suggesting that this could be every Primaris model, because I'm fully aware that there will be people out there who probably sit there and go, well, actually, I kind of would just like a spiky Primaris, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of, you know, having, a single god army or whatever. And that's fine. But I'd love to see them be a bit adventurous. I'd love to see them come out with stuff like, well, like this. Like that. And like that. Now, obviously, those are Forge World models, and they're Word Bearers models. But you get the idea. Something that is not just a copy-paste thing, like Chaos used to be. Something that isn't just, oh, well, they were part of the Imperium and they're not now. And it looks like they were part of the Imperium and they're not now. Something that actually gives them their own personality, that makes them truly stand out, and makes them just that little bit more interesting. Now, whether there's much chance of that, I don't know. Because, of course, the safe and easy route would be to simply produce Chaos Primaris Marines. To just do what's been done before. Just take them, stick a bit of Chaos iconography on them, and sell them as is. But there's actually an opportunity here to do something that is more meaningful and more impactful, and I think would work better for the lore of Chaos as a whole, as to where they are now compared to where they have been in the past. I mean, there's not really any excuse to not do something like that now. That's the thing that, in a way, is very obvious when you look at the kits as they are. The Chaos Space Marine kit is not great. It's kind of old. In fact, it is pretty damn old. It just sort of looks like cartoony Space Marines gone bad. It doesn't need to be like that anymore. The actual increase in skill and increase in just quality of models and quality of sculpts. You could do something genuinely exciting with Primaris Marines turning to Chaos. It's just whether they do it. Now, what I want to know is, I'd love to see something like that. I'd love to see full-on corrupted Primaris Marines if it's going to happen, which I think it is going to happen. Ideally, having thought about it more, I don't think I'd want Primaris Marines to move over to Chaos anyway. Just in general, I'd much prefer there to be some other way to kind of bridge the gap a little bit, but it seems very unlikely. It seems that I feel like it's something that's almost guaranteed to happen. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see some proper effort made to, once again, make Chaos more chaosy, make Chaos more different, more unique. Split it again away from the Imperium so that you're now, if ever you were in doubt, which you probably aren't at this point anymore, but even less in doubt now than you were before, then when you look at something you can just go, oh, okay, that's Chaos, and just know straight off the bat. Give it that extra bit of personality. But the question is, what do you want? If it's going to happen, if there's no choice, if it is going to be a thing, Chaos Primaris Marines, would you just want to see spiky Primaris Marines? Would you want to see a bit more effort put in? Would you like to see something a bit more funky, a bit more unique, a bit more different? Or would you be happy for them to just get a couple of icons and that be it? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, nearly made it. Thank you very much for watching. There's the usual array of links to click if you want to click them. Patreon has sorted their nonsense out. When I'm feeling properly better, I'll make a video talking about what happened. But they've sorted themselves out. They haven't changed their fees, so I can once again encourage you without any guilt and say, if you want to click the Patreon link, then you can do. And yeah, I will see you for the next video. Toodaloo.